And while waiting, right, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for giving us your time. We put up an agenda, right, which hopefully you will find it beneficial because instead of just sharing with you about the solutions, we are also going to be talking about the use cases, right, that we have, right, from customer and also from our own projects. And so these 2 hours, right, we hope you will stay true with us and right from the beginning till end. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just share with you the agenda, right? You would have seen this in the e-flyer. So we have a couple of presentations, as you can see, and a few people who will be sharing, which I will just introduce to you very quickly. And these will be shared by someone from PDC, our customer themselves, and also our own team. Okay, so maybe what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and start because I can see that people are starting to join in, right? So again, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you so much for joining. So I'm going to just do a very quick introduction to PDSolutions, our company, and then I'll hand over to the presenters for the upcoming sessions. Okay, so if you have not heard about us, right, I just wanted to introduce PDSolutions. We are a Singapore-based company, and we also have offices in Malaysia and Thailand. Right, in Malaysia, we have offices in Penang and KL, and we've been around for more than 15 years, all right? So we are actually a software reseller company. And these are the brands, right, at the right side here that we carry and represent. So what do these brands come with, right? I'll just quickly share with you. So PTC is the main brand, and PTC is also the company that owns Kepware and Thingworx, right? So they started off with 3D CAD, right? Followed by simulation, and then also a product lifecycle management system called Windshield that is able to manage all the 3D CAD designs, right? So when you talk about product lifecycle, meaning from right now from design to manufacturing to shipping out, right? And apart from 3D CAD and PLM, we also carry not just simulation solution under Creo or PTC Creo, we carry a wide range of simulation. So this is actually maybe useful for your R&D team, right? Your mechanical team who does design and needs to do simulation. It can help them cut down costs instead of building prototypes, right? To test and see whether, you know, what they design is going to work. So this range is quite huge, starting from like CFD, right? Fluid dynamics to electronics thermal cooling, right? Even up to like optical lighting simulation. And also we're talking about manufacturing process simulation for plastic as well as custard parts. So actually we cover a little bit more, but we are just putting the most popular ones, right, that are widely used by customers. So then we also have got a range of optimization solutions that comes under Creo, right, with the extensions as well as NCs. Solutions that you want to be able to run simulation before you send it for 3D printing, right? Or a solution that helps you save costs, right? Especially on cutting the material, but not jeopardizing on the structure and strength, right? So this is what it covers. Then we have got engineering tools to help engineers as well, right? Especially to validate their designs, right? And to do calculations. And lastly, right, so we have here is what we are sharing mainly today, right? Except for the second one over here, this is a production scheduling software under another brand that we are carrying, right? But we classify them under Industry 4 because it's all about automating your manufacturing process, right? And ensuring that you want to be able to look at your OEE, right? So that when you know what are the problems, based on the data you've collected, then you can actually do preventive maintenance. So these are the areas that we will be sharing, and we'll be showing you examples and doing a demo on some of it in the areas of Kepware, right? Thingworx, as well as Vuforia. Okay, so for connectivity, the IoT platform that we've used for customers, and also the augmented reality solution. So this is a very quick intro. And so after this, right, I would like to introduce to you Steve, right, who is from PTC, who will be covering these three topics, right? The first three parts, where he will introduce briefly to you what is Kepware all about, and what's new in the current the current version, as also the upcoming version, right? That's going to be released soon, and also doing a demo, right, to show you the technologies that is within Kepware, right, especially on the 4 areas of IoT Gateway, the data logger, what it does, MQTT and UDD. So just my introduction, Steve is the Senior Application Engineer for PDC Kepware products, right, if APAC, in APAC region. So he's been with PDC for more than 5 years. He's a Splunk certified architect, and he has got more than 7 years experience in training and supporting Kepware customers in this region, right? So I'd like to pass the next 3 sessions to Steve. Steve, over to you.
Hello. Give me a moment. Let me share my screen. And everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see. So I guess they cannot speak now, right, through Teams.
They can unmute themselves. Yeah.
Oh, they can. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe during the session as we go along, if you have any question, feel free to just type into the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask me along the way.
Yes, thanks, Steve, for the reminder. Yeah, so please feel free to unmute yourself if you've got questions along the way. Don't, though we kind of like formally put a Q&A session, towards the end, right? But, in case you forget, right, and you like to ask on the spot in relations to the topic that is shared, feel free to unmute yourself, or if you're a bit shy, just write it in the chat box and we will take a look and address it. Thanks, Steve, for reminding.
Okay. No problem. So thank you for the introduction. So I'm actually Steve. I'm the senior AE based in Singapore for this region. So as a start, I just do a brief introduction of who we are. So we are a company called Kepware that is established since 1995, and we are a US-based company. So we're located in Portland, Maine, which is at this small little area, right? So it's a US-based company. We are in Maine. We have over about 20 years of experience in terms of developing connectivity software for industrial automation. So if you are a control engineer, or maybe you're in SCADA or OT, that kind of environment, you probably have heard of us. Since we've been around for quite some time. So back some time ago, we got acquired by a company called PTC, right? So that's why nowadays you hear us interchangeably. Some people refer to us as PTC, some refer to us as Kepware, but we are a business unit or technology platform within the PTC ecosystem. So our sister company, which is Thingworx, is also a sister that deals with IoT. Will also be presenting today later by PDSolution. Right, so later they will talk about it, and we'll also talk about some of the implementation use case in Singapore. Okay, there will also be a customer talking later, so I know I'm just giving you a brief heads up on that. So basically, we are a software company that deals with industrial automation. Typically, these are the 4 verticals that we serve in. So factories are the place where we came up from, our bread and butter. So typically, when we talk about factories, we are talking about interfacing with devices such as PLCs, power flow control, that kind of thing. So we interface with that, SCADA, HMI, So those are the factory stuff. And then when we talk about work sites, we are talking about more of the oil and gas stuff. So you won't see them specifically in, maybe in this region, but you actually see them in, say, like oil and gas area where we have flow computers, feature ROC stuff, oil and gas specific devices. Third, we have the cities. So smart cities is now quite a hot topic going on. So we actually have a couple of solutions that are used to connect to building automation systems, and then we can move the data around, and then you can use it to implement, some sort of intelligence or analytics into the building monitoring, right? So for example, in Singapore, we have a thing called Green Mark Award. So a lot of times our software are being used to grab the data to generate reports to see whether the building is green enough, whether it complies to the requirement to designate them as a green building. So things are like that, right? And then we have also, on the other end, we have the offices, for example, in data centers. So we are quite heavily used in data centers, to be honest. So some of the data centers they use us for are things like PIM, power infra monitoring, or DSIMs, things like that. So we are being used to monitor the industrial asset on the data centers and places like that. So typically, this is what you can find us, some of the verticals where you can find us. So on the bottom left corner is actually a map, right? So you see the green area, right? So something unique about Kepware is that out of the US office, we do not deal direct, right? So we actually have each of the countries, we have a specific distributor, right? So for Malaysia, currently the plan is actually to have a PDSolution, which is why we're having the webinar today. So for Malaysia, it's PDSolution, and then there's one in every single other country. So out of the US, again, we go exclusively through distributors, which is in this case PDSo for your region. Then at the right corner is actually some of the awards that we have accumulated, some of our accolades, if you're into that kind of thing. So we win this kind of awards and things like that to let you know that our product is quite widely recognized, right? So what does Kepware do, right? So in a very broad picture or diagram, this is actually what we actually do. So basically, we connect to brownfield devices, right? So brownfield meaning that it could be a legacy device, or it could be something that has already been deployed in the field, brownfield. And then we have greenfield, where we have like a new plant or new opportunity where we can have new devices connection or modern devices. So that's typically what we refer to as greenfield. And then we can connect to them. And specifically OT devices, we can connect the data and then we can move it up to the other stakeholders, right? So when we talk about OT devices, these are some of the brands that we have. At this point of time, I would think that we are still the leader in terms of the number of offering of drivers, right? So we can connect to a huge variety of devices, right? So the picture over here is just some of the sample of the more common devices that you will see in OT environment. Right? So you could be looking at Rockwell, Allen Bradley PLC, Distribution PLC, Siemens PLC, CNC, you'll be seeing things like Fanuc. And then we have other stuff like building automation, you see Johnson's Control. And then some of the customers use our SNMP driver to connect to the managed device network, right? So that could be like Cisco managed switch or things like that. Once we connect the data, we will pass it up to consume. So software that takes up, typically could be like so we used to be just OPC, right? So when we talk OPC, we're talking about the bread and butter SCADA. If anyone here is a SCADA person, it's actually pretty much your Wonderware, InTouch, Rockwell, FT, Ignition, GE, iFix. So these are some of the more traditional use cases of Kepware where we have a display, HMI, then connected to the asset. Then, with the proliferation of internet and then adoption of IoT technologies, we're starting to move towards the cloud. So you can see things like, recently, if you're in, there's a lot of talks and discussion about OPC UA. So that's one of the core interface that is being leveraged right now within enterprise kind of deployment of Kepware, where we move the data across different network segmentation. Right, so OPC UA, And then we have Thingworx, of course. We use our native connectivity to Thingworx, which we will talk a little bit about later. So these are some of the consumers of the data, and they will actually broker everything through Kepware. So this is a view of the flow, data flow. So typically you will see things like your OT devices generating data, right? So this is, if you are in manufacturing, it could be your AS interface, your industrial buses, ProfitNet, or Profit Bus, or things like that. So these are the stuff that are generating data, right? So typically these kind of high resolution data are then, or rather the raw data, right? They are all very fast, right? So in milliseconds, they're based off the clock and things like that. So usually we have a PLC, right? For those who are not familiar with the term PLC, is basically a programmable logic controller. So you can think of it as like a computer, right? A mini computer that OT engineers use to perform OT specific tasks like controls or safety systems, things like that, right? So how Kepware comes in is that we can actually take the data, right, and then we can move it all the way up to the Kepware layer, right? And after which we can broker that data into different stakeholders. So if you standardize everything into Kepware, it's actually easier to manage the flow of data, right? So that's really the key thing that why our customers use Kepware. And then we talk about in the recent trends, you probably have heard of things like IIoT or Industry 4.0. So over here is just a chart that talk about the kind of the steps that's taking place in order for you to achieve that. So for Kepware, we are very clear cut. We are actually on the point where we connect to the devices, and then that would typically be your first step, right? Because you can have all these fancy applications, but if you don't have the data, there's nothing you can do, right? So that's typically where Kepware comes into play. We connect to it, and then we can send it to other platforms to deliver the other things that to unlock the other things that IoT promises you. For example, you have full visibility. You can build context around the data. You can have your data model, and then you can have a digital twin, as many of them would say, to be able to realize that, right? So in today's presentation, we will use Thingworx for that to talk about to explain on that stack, that software stack that allows you to achieve that. Okay, the unique thing about Kepware, right, is that if you notice in the market right now, I would say that we are one of the very few considered as a commercial off-the-shelf connectivity solution, right? What we really mean by that is that we maintain our products, right, not for a specific use case or not for a specific project. Once we release a driver, we will maintain it along the way, as the years go by. For example, if we find a way to improve the driver, we will add it in. If there is a security issue related to the driver, we will update it. Or if the manufacturer themselves has a new firmware update, we will load test against it, and then we'll make sure that the devices itself the driver itself is of a good quality and acceptable, acceptable performance for the driver. So how we achieve that is that we have a continuous improvement process where we kind of release a new build every, say, a quarter or so. We will have a new one. It is not compulsory or necessary for you to say move it to the latest version, but we will strongly recommend it, especially when there are security improvements, right? So if you look at my picture over here, if you are using Kepware, go into mykepware.com, you can actually download all the releases that we have released since the version 5, right? So today we are at 6.10, right, which is the latest version. All right. And then moving on, then we also have a changelog. So if you're interested, every time you look at the you go to the changelog that we have on our webpage, right? You can actually see the release notes. So you can see that in 6.10, we actually updated, fixed some issues, patched everything and things like that for a bunch of various drivers, right? So if you put it to any, you can actually search for it, and then you can see all the different enhancements that we have done.
So we continuously improve the product and maintain it, you know. So that's why it's a very commercial off the shelf kind of thing, because when a bug is found, you know, maybe from another user somewhere out there, that the fix is also automatically made available to you. It's being maintained, right? Right. So having said that, today this session will just talk a little bit on the release 6.10, which is our latest release. For your information, the 6.11 release will be coming soon in roughly mid-December. All right. Oops. Right, the high-level goals, right, is to enable the system integrators and partners to connect to second or third tier devices. What we really mean, right, is to have a way for you to develop a new way for you to develop a custom connectivity to devices like this, right? So this kind of devices could be things like a web API, could be a robots API, and things like that, right? So this is some of the key goal that we wanted to deliver with this release. We wanted to provide functionality support to enterprise customer deployments. So concurrently with the 6.10 release, we also released the Dockerized support for the Thingworx Kepware Edge, which is the Linux version of Kepware. Right. Of course, we want to maintain the top tier driver support, so we continuously maintain the patch and to patch them as well. Last but not least, you know, with every release, we will ensure that our systems are up to date and the latest security improvements are included, right? So having said that, with regards to the goals, what it translates to functional requirement would be we release a new product called the UDD Driver. So if anybody in the call is using a Uconn Driver or CID Driver, this is the equivalent version of that, but with a new way to script it. All right. Then we have a new Yokogawa GX driver. So for customers who are using the Yokogawa Smart DAC series, you now have an option to have a way to connect to it, right? Of course, the next thing that we also have added in is the TIA Porter Exporter version. So if you're a Siemens user and you're using the version 16, you can now use this application to actually import the TIA project file to generate the text required for the Siemens controller, right? Then for the control logic stuff, we have a version 33 firmware update, compatibility. So just briefly talk about the UDD driver first, because we'll go a little bit in depth on it later. So the UDD driver, or the Universal Device Driver, is a scriptable driver. So what we mean by that is that you can actually now use JavaScript to script out the protocols and have that flexibility involved within Kepware to connect to other devices. Okay, next, as part of the inclusive terminology in product changes, we are also swapping out terms like master and slave into client and servers, right? So the client will be the master and the server will be the slave. So we're removing terms from like master and slave away from our product. So if you look at our help file, they will be updated. Just bear in mind with these changes when you work in the OT environment. Okay, then the Yokogawa GX driver, we actually have a new Ethernet driver that is designed for the Smart DAC Plus product family. And this particular product allows to support for the GX series, the GP series, and the GM series, right? And these particular devices are also, they are used for COVID-19 vaccine development. So this is a new devices that we added in to support with the recent development of things. Okay, the next thing on the updates for 6.10 will be the Fanuc Focus Ethernet. So if you are using the Fanuc Focus driver, there's two new parameters that you can add in to read different parameters. The CNC RD timer, which allows you to read the timer object from the device. The CNC RD alarm message to support the reading of alarm information. Right, so for AB control logics Ethernet, as mentioned, the version 33 update, so nothing too fantastic there. For MT Connect driver, so for anyone interfacing with CNC, even using an MT adapter, right? This is the driver that connects to the adapter, And what we have done is that we have allowed the option to skip the schema validation. And the reason why we do that is that previously, some of the vendors out there, they do not conform to the MT Connect spec. So we actually added an option to kind of ignore the validation so that we are less strict in terms of passing the XML file that comes with the MT Connect protocol. On the last note, we have actually EOL 2 drivers, so the set bus serial driver and the ABDH plus driver, right? So these are pretty old drivers. I don't know if anybody here is using it, right? Hopefully not. So just to explain what we're going to do in 2022, right? So these are some of the strategic developments that we have in mind. So we will continue to be the market-leading connectivity for brownfield and greenfield industrial asset, right? So this translates to our drivers. We will continue to look at what are the changes in the OT market and what are the new players coming in, and then we will see whether we want to support that change, right? Next, to be developing features targeted for the IT IoT market, so specifically the enterprise market, right? Features that are targeted towards that. So stay tuned for that. We will also be having like a Kepware offerings, so different Kepware offerings to support modern enterprise IoT kind of deployment architecture, right? So specifically for this, the latest one that we have done is the Dockerized support for the TKE. So eventually we're going to have more and more features to go into that kind of more of a microservice architecture kind of environment. Next, we have the enhanced remote capabilities, right? So stay tuned for this. There will eventually be some sort of UI that is web-based that you can use to kind of have an overview of to understand what are the current Kepware being deployed, what is the license status, that kind of thing, to have an overview of it, right? And last but not least, to maintain our quality, reliability, and security to protect the mission critical systems, right? So in terms of roadmap, today we are at 6.10, which was released somewhere around February 2021, right? So we are there right now. So moving forward, some of the key things that will be coming in the next release, just for you guys to know, we are going to have a Siemens S7 Plus protocol driver, which allows you to connect to the newer Siemens controllers. For example, the S7 1005 and the S7 1200, right? What it means, right, is that with this new protocol added into our solution, right, you can actually interrogate the PLC for the tag list, so you don't have to do the whole TIA export thing. So it's a very seamless way of pulling symbolic data into Kepware itself. On the other hand, we are also looking to have some solution for the data modeling on the OPC UA side. So for those who are familiar with OPC UA, we are actually using the DA info model today. But as things progress in the OT sectors, you can see that there are a lot of different data model to ingest, and we are going to come up with a solution to actually manage that, right? Yeah, so that's the end of the very quick presentation for the 6.10 overview and a rough sneak preview of the next release, as well as some of our end goals for next year. Does anybody have any question? Feel free to type if, let's say, there's any question. If not, I'll just move ahead to my next section. Right, so my next section over here is to talk about some of the IoT applications within Kepware. So let's say if you are looking at IoT applications, some of the plugins and products that we can use in order to get your IoT application started. Right. So I'm going to just do a very brief one on what is IoT and Industry 4, right? So I think if you're in the OT market, you probably have heard 1,000 times on this, but but basically this is pretty much what it boils down to. So it's a terminology coined in 2011 by German government to describe a digitization project for manufacturing, right? So it's the convergence of physical and digital systems in industrial manufacturing, right? So if you look at how things are progressing in the OT market, a lot of times the OT products are starting to be integrated with the IT side of things, right? So more and more adoption of Ethernet-based technology, so that everything can streamline and integrate well into the existing IT infrastructure. Use of IT-centric protocols to send data around and things like that, right? So if you're interested, you can find out more in the link that I have there, right? So at the end of the day, right, as I talked about it earlier on, connectivity is one of the key things that you need to start off in terms of digitization, right? So you need to have something that allow you to connect and then get the items, right, get the data and all that in order to formulate a data model, right? So all the OT data, all the OT products are basically your things, right? And then you can actually then pass it on to a web-based service or on-prem cloud, to leverage the more higher level interface and higher functions that the IoT platforms can deliver. So for those who are familiar, I just realized, I realized my PowerPoint is cut off. Let me try to unshare and share again. Much better. Okay, so for those who are familiar in OT, right? Okay. For those who are familiar in OT, typically we have what we call an ISA 95 model, right? Where we kind of set a perimeter around each of the layers, right? L1 to 5. So in an IoT kind of environment, that may not hold true, right? In a lot of times, what they do is that they go straight from the L0 and L1, which is the controller, sensor, SCADA, and everything, straight into the cloud, and then they take all that data, sensors, device status data to deliver either a similar capacity of what a monitoring system would do, or they could add in other functions, in order to present to you new functions and capabilities that typical OT solutions cannot deliver. So this is an example of some of the technologies that are involved in terms of IoT applications, right? And that will set the context of what we're going to talk about today, or what I'm going to talk about today. So typically you have your OT stuff, right? You connect to the industrial protocols and then go into the drivers. So these are your standard, like your Allen Bradley controllers and things like that. And then on the other side of things, let's say if we don't have a ready-made protocol for your devices, you can actually use a product like Uconn in order to ingest the data, right? So this is actually a GUI-based driver that allows you to customize and connect to simple protocol devices such as the barcode scanners or the sensors themselves. Okay. Then therefore, the more complex protocol, for example, the APIs and things like that, we will be introducing the UDD driver, which allows you to script and handle the more complicated handshakings involved in an API or things like that. So that's with the release of 6.10, we are launching this new UDD driver, which is JavaScript based, right? And I'll talk about it later on. So once you ingest all that data, you will want to send out to somewhere, right? So typically for IoT, you want to go with the IoT Gateway, which allows you to do real-time transfer into cloud, right? So things like MQTT, REST-based, REST clients, and things like that. And then on the other hand, once you send out the data, right, you may want to have a local buffer, right? Buffer of data. So that's where you can actually use the data logger and push out data to a local DB, right? Or even, or on the other side of the story, it could be your IT team who wants the data and they want to do something, and they're very comfortable with SQL-based data archive. So that's where you can actually use data logger to pass data to them and then share that same data that you use for the SCADA and production for them to do whatever they want.
Sorry, I have a question. Just now, can you go back to the previous slide? I saw there's a barcode scanner which can actually connect to your Kepware.
Yes.
Is it a kind of network-based barcode scanner?
Depends on what kind of barcode scanner you have. So
normally barcode scanner connected to PC via USB port. So you see this picture, it looks like the barcode scanner can actually connect directly to so-called the Kepware.
Yes, you can. If let's say if it's a there's an echo, but if let's say there is a say a USB, right? There could be a COM port that you can listen to. So once you listen to that COM port, what you can do is that if you understand the protocols coming out from the barcode scanner, right, you can use the Uconn Driver to decide which part of the data to extract and what data it represents.
So then I still need to rely on a so-called a PC and then connected to this barcode scanner. Can I actually skip the PC in between?
So if you want to skip the PC in between, then what do you want to? Where do you want the data to go to?
That's right. The Gateway, the Kepware server, talk to our barcode scanner directly. Possible?
Yes, it's possible. It's possible. So if you use the Uconn Driver, you can actually do that. So maybe I'll just do a quick one.
Or maybe you can give some example. What's the kind of barcode scanner can actually integrate with your Gateway?
We don't have a specific one, but basically what you will use is you will use the Uconn Driver. In fact, if you type Uconn Driver Kepware barcode scanner, there's probably something out there. Yeah, so we have a document. I think later we can send out the link to you. Then you can take a look at specifically how this is done. So this is a Uconn manual, and then what you want to find barcode. There we go. So this is how the data. This is how the data looks like. So with the Uconn Driver, right? So you imagine you connect the barcode scanner to the USB, right? Then there will be a COM port. So for Kepware, what you do is that you assign to that COM port, whatever that is, or you can find it on the device manager. And then what you do is that you can then add in the device. I'm just going to do the default stuff. So then after that, you can on the transaction editor, right, where you can have I'm going a bit fast, but basically if you read through the because it's a sudden thing.
We have used Kepware before.
Okay. So the data will look like this, you will be a hex data, and then you will decide whether this is the data or this is the data or this is the data, and then using the Uconn Driver, right, you extract out direct.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Okay, sorry, I go back. Where am I? Oh yeah.
See if there's some question in the chat room also.
Let me take a look. We keep it casual. Let me see. Is Azure? No, Azure is not the only platform. AWS is definitely supported. So AWS, right? There's a few ways you can do this. You can either go through the IoT Hub, which is one of the way, but it's not recommended. I think the recommended way is Greengrass. Yeah, I don't think I have the time to talk fully about it, but you can check this out. It's under called the Greengrass, and then I believe if you type AWS Kepware, you can see our some of the documentation that we have currently. So you can see this is the documentation for IoT Gateway, which is the product that later we can do a little bit, and then it shows you the step-by-step process on the handshaking towards the AWS endpoint or the IoT Hub. Sorry, yeah, AWS IoT Hub. And then if you're using Greengrass, right, there's an official blog from AWS as well. So you can see it's specifically for Kepware. In fact, I just realized I can paste this in the chat box, so you all can read it out. Vera, right? So you can check out how this works. So you can see that in terms of architecture-wise, it's just using Kepware with our IoT Gateway into the AWS IoT Greengrass. right? We're using the MQTT Connect protocol. So this model and this guide is a little bit different because this particular guide is going straight to the IoT cloud. But for this one, right, it's actually going to an on-prem software agent, right? So there's two ways of doing this. And this is exactly the same for Azure as well. So if Azure, you can actually go straight into the IoT hub, right? They also have an IoT hub, or you can go through the IoT Edge runtime, right? So there's two models for that. So if you type Microsoft Kepware, you can find out there's two. You see that? IoT hub, IoT Edge. So it's actually two different mechanisms that you can use to actually send it. Right, so this is the hub version, which is the direct to cloud, and this is to the on-prem software agent, which for Microsoft is called IoT Edge, and for AWS is called IoT Greengrass. Right, so I hope that answers your question on whether Azure is the only platform supported. No, it's not. Right. In fact, later I will be demonstrating the IBM connectivity. Right.
Steve, there's one more question by Jaya. What is the interface requirements for IoT interface compared to the Kepware?
I'm trying to understand the question. So, interface requirement.
Hello, Steve.
Hello.
Go back to one slide before from your PowerPoint. Maybe I did not spell out correctly my questions. Okay, yeah, this one.
This one, okay.
This slide on the left, you are showing the devices, sensors, and so on directly connecting to the cloud, right? And then here we do not have Kepware here, right? And on the right, you are showing the devices L0, L1 connecting to the IoT platform. In between, you have a Kepware. So is this Kepware is for legacy kind of environment?
Oh, okay. So it depends on how are you designing your network, not network, but your infrastructure, I would say. So the middleware here, right, what it does is that this middleware, right, can be Kepware. So you can actually have Kepware sitting. So when we say edge, right, it could be somewhere where your factory floor, shop floor is. So we can have Kepware connected to them, right? So you see the green line, right? It all connects to Kepware. And then we can use the IoT Gateway to pump the data directly into the cloud. So this is one way. The second way, right, is that you can have some way you can actually deploy Kepware into, say, a cloud instance where you have a compute resource. For example, if you have AWS EC2 or you have Azure's compute resource where you have like a kind of a VM kind of thing inside the cloud, right? Then you can actually connect to the industrial devices. Of course, the security aspect have to be considered. For example, you need to probably launch a VPN and things like that, so that your data don't go out naked. A lot of times the OT protocols are not built with security in mind. So that's where it really depends on how your solution or your infra looks like, and what is a plan for you to push the data into the IoT application. So on the right side is just another form. It's actually the same thing on the left and right, just that on the right side is a higher level view of how the data has moved beyond the layered approach where OT are traditionally used to. All right. Let me see if there's any other question. Jaya, did I answer your query?
Yes, Steve. Thank you.
Feel free to just reach out to Hillary, for, let's say, after this, because I don't think I can cover everything, but feel free to ask questions, and then we can follow up with you later as well. Okay, so for UDD driver, coming back to it, that is a new driver that is launched with 6.10. So what it does is that you can actually use JavaScript to code it, right? So this is a kind of overview for what it does, right? Underlying, we have a server runtime, and then with the introduction of the UDD, if you install the component, right? The component has to specifically, explicitly enabled. If not, you won't see the driver, right? Once you enable it, you install it, there will be a new runtime called the server script engine, where we host the runtime instance of the script. Right, so it's just some brief terminology, right? So in Kepware, what it does is that you can use a bunch of JavaScript and then you park it under a profile and you import it into the profile library. And once that is done, you can then use when you create a channel in Kepware, you can actually call out that profile and use that to link them up and use it as a driver. So this essentially lets you create your own driver using JavaScript. All right, I won't go too deep into this because what I will do is that instead is to kind of do a quick demo of the UDD driver. Right, so over here you can see I actually have a UDD done, and what it does is that you can actually create a new profile, right, and then you can call the profile whatever you want, and once that is done, you can then paste you can import the code, the JavaScript code, into the profile library, right? So the JavaScript code looks like this, right? Just to talk a little bit on it, there's typically about 4 functions that you will use. The get driver info, which is kind of information about this driver. For example, who developed this, what is the version, and things like that. And then we have the validate address. So when you create a tag in the Uconn driver, right? You want to validate whether whatever the user has typed in here is correct or not. So that's the validate address call that allows you to log information into our events log or whatever you want to put in, right? And then the build message would be for you to create the transmit request, right? And then the pass message would be the passing of the response from the TX or the transmit from the build message, right? You will get back a message string. So when you get back a message profile, message string, you want to pass it. So this is some of the things that you can do, right? So once that is done, basically what you do is that under the UDD, you just need to actually go under the profile and link it with the GUID. So this GUID is the same GUID that you have over here. Okay, so you create the profile first, you develop your code, you import it in, and then take this string and then go under, when you create the UDD driver, for example, and paste it into the ID so that it link the channel to the profile. And then once that is done, you can continue to create the device, right? So the IP, where your IP address, the port number. So for example, if it's a web server, it could be something like this, right? And then you can create a tag, right? So that's typically what you will do. And what this does in our current example is that it goes to open weather, the API, and we can pull in the weather data, right? So if you look at the demo license, let me just restart my runtime. Can see that? So you can actually see things like wind speed or visibility, right? So what I'm actually doing is really just doing a REST call into open weather. This one. Right. So basically what we're doing is that we're just getting the weather data, and this is how it looks like, right? So you just need to add in the query and your token and things like that, which is under my build message. Yeah, I can see that API Q, the query Q equals to 1. So I'm in Singapore, so I put it in Singapore. The app ID key, right, which is an API key, and then we'll create the get the request command, right? Get HTTP blah 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 blah, and then eventually we'll be able to see the data. So for example, if I key in this, browser, you can see that we actually got the response back. So what we're doing is that we're taking this response using regular expression, right? Regular expression, and we are getting and putting it into the Kepware platform using the JavaScript, right? So I hope that makes some sense to you guys. Not everybody will be able to understand this, but if let's say you are a developer who are looking for a way to interface with an API into Kepware, then the UDD driver will be the recommended solution from us. All right. So if you are really interested, there's a couple of resources that you can actually look into, right? So there's a document that says a connectivity guide that is about configuring the UDD driver and profile library. And in this guide, we use Modbus as an example, and we go through, step by step what kind of functions that you're supposed to use, what kind of call you're supposed to use in the context of a Modbus driver, right? So the HTTP and simulator driver are also included along with the installation of Kepware. So if you go under the C drive program file for this, right, you can see that we actually added the HTTP example and the Modbus Ethernet example, a new port sensor example, and a simulator example, right? So feel free to open up and explore it. Okay, so that's for the UDD driver. So I'm trying to pick up the pace because I think I'm a little bit overstretched by a little bit. All right, so I won't go too much into this. So that was the UDD driver. So in the context of IoT, what it does is that we allow Kepware to talk to another API, right? And then we bring that into something that the OT people will recognize. So on the next item that we have, obviously will be the IoT Gateway. So the IoT Gateway is actually a plugin within the Kepware platform itself. And inside the plugin, what it does is that it offers you two key connectivity options for IT-centric protocols, specifically the REST clients and REST server, as well as the MQTT clients agent. The underlying acceptable payload will be JSON, right, which is the JavaScript object notation, which is over here. So for those who are curious, right, this is pretty much the a certain standard that is in place where when we talk about API, usually the payloads are available in the form of JSON, right? So the way JSON looks like is it starts with a curly bracket, right, and then it has a key value syntax. Then you can put whatever you want inside. It can be an object within an object. It could be an array. It could be all sorts of stuff, right? But it must be in the form of a key value pair. And then we have the end it with another curly bracket, right? So that's JSON, right? So with the REST calls, pretty much is one of the framework that is being adopted in when we talk about web services, right? The protocol underlying for the REST framework is HTTP, which is why you will hear me use it interchangeably, right? Because at this point of time, pretty much REST, it just means HTTP. For MQTT, it will be it's another commonly used protocol. So for example, I think just now Vera asked about how can we send that to the cloud. These are for the cloud vendor side. Usually, what we do is the MQTT protocol, right? And it's a little bit different from most of the protocols in the sense that it actually follows a pub/sub model, right? So you will need a broker, right, in the middle to actually publish the data out. Right, so the MQTT agent will the MQTT client will publish the data out to a broker, and people who are subscribed to the same topic. So you can see this sensor temperature UK London is topic, and they will get the same data that comes out from it. So it's like a one-to-many broadcast. Right. So going back to the diagram and things that I talk about the layered IoT. So this is an example on how you can actually use Kepware to achieve your moving of the data in the IoT in the cloud environment. Right. So these are some of the resources that you can go to. Right. So later I think there will be a PDF sent out, so you can click the links to look at them. Right. Right. So as an example, right, I'm going to do this demo right now. So you can see that we actually have a bunch of devices here. So let me just remove the barcode scanner. Okay, so we just keep it to here, whatever we have here. Okay, you can see that some of the stuff should be working, right? So some of the data is working. We have some data over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate the use of the IoT Gateway, right? So over here, when you create a new agent, you can choose one of the modes that we have, right? So for example, if you're doing a REST client, right, you will type in the URL. So a REST client is for you to send out the data. So the supported method is a post and a put, right? So that's what you can do. And then you can add in some headers if you like. So once you do that, you can then add in the text that you want to throw in. So for example, I add in these two tags, right? So pretty much that was the end of the IoT Gateway. So if I want to do a MQTT client, for example, now I want to send to a cloud. So for this particular use case, I want to send to Watson, right? So if you look at the documentation, you can actually see the steps step by step listed out in, oops, not this one. I believe is this one. Yeah, you can actually read through some of the documents where they talk about how you can do this. The device events in particular is used for sending out the data and things like that. So that can be done through the MQTT agent, which has been pre-configured over here. So you can see that I'm actually sending out to this SSL. I'm sending out to this topic, and then this is how the template and message will look like, right? So once I've done that and I enable it, you can see that the connection would then be connected. Let me see, to the broker, right? So once you configure it correctly, and then over here I've added like 3 data over here, and then what we can do now is go into the cloud instance, right? And you'll be able to see the data coming in from the device itself, right? So once you do that, when we connect to it, we just reset the events log. See that? So once the connection is taking place, right, we can see the data going in, right, a few seconds ago, which is, a few seconds ago. And you can see the data that I'm sending, right? So these are the same data that you are seeing over here, right? So once that is done, you can actually do all sorts of fancy stuff. Then you can go under and create your own board. You can create a value, select Kepware, for example, connect to events. You could be looking at the visibility, I guess. Right. So you can see that quickly, with the use of the if you have configured your stuff correctly, it's very straightforward. MQTT straight to the IBM Watson cloud platform, and then you can use it to start to create things that your system needs for the data. Right. So this is just a demo for the MQTT agent to a cloud. Right. Again, it's quite straightforward. You type in the client, the URL, type in the topic that is specified by the cloud platform, right? Then you can actually manipulate how the payload looks like, right? Using the advanced template, and then we can actually start to send data by just right-clicking, adding the data itself. So for example, let's do a live one. I think I have this guy which is supposed to go at every second. And I think that you can add here. Secondary. so that we can have a live demo. I just added this tag, and then this is added in. So you can see the update rate is not that fast because I have not set that. I've toned it down to 10 seconds. All right, so you can actually probably flood it with 1 second. See that? Much faster. Right. So this is an example of the IoT Gateway. And going back to the presentation, in that context, you can see that if you configure your stuff correctly, it's quite straightforward for you. It's quite easy for you to connect to Kepware, and then pass it on to the cloud platform. In a matter of say 30 minutes, if you know what you're doing. All right. Okay. So the next thing that we talk about is the ODBC application. So with the ODBC driver, what it does is that you can actually use the data logger to log data into a SQL database, right? Some of the key functions that they have includes like static logging. So let's say you just want to log it every 5 seconds, every 1 second. You don't need to care what condition, just log every 5 seconds. So that will be static logging. And then we have the time-based logging where you can log, maybe you're doing a shift work kind of thing. So you want to monitor only the morning batch. So that's where you use a time-based logging. And the third one will be a condition-based logging where you can have some sort of triggers for you to start and stop the log. Okay, so with the data logger, you can actually easily add in a on-prem logging. So in case this connection goes down, then at least you still have this guy on-prem with your data, right? So this is how the data looks like in a DB, right? Once you connect your data logger, you will be able to see the tag and the value and all that stuff, right? So for more information, just go into the following links. You can actually see a video deep dive on how to use the data logger by one of my colleagues in US, right? And then of course on the other spectrum, when you want to read from a database, we have the ODBC driver, right? So you can actually use the ODBC driver. You can use the data logger to push out data, and you can use the ODBC driver to actually pull back the data in. Right. So that will bring us back to the complete picture. Right. That is the end of my session. Let me just do a quick check if there's any questions. Looks like there's no other question. Yeah, so that's all I have. Feel free to type in any of the question, and I will respond to you in the chat box.
Yeah. So next up, right? PDSolutions, we have done a really big project in Singapore for Temasek Polytechnic Advanced Manufacturing Center, also known as TPAMC. Right, not just using Thingworx, but also Kepware and AR. But and the person behind, right, our team, right, helping this is actually our senior technical manager, Yubun. Okay, and Yubun has been with us for 12 years, and he has more than 15 years, right, of experience, right, working with engineering industries. And before he actually went into IoT, right? By nature, he's a mechanical engineer, and he is very proficient in using many different 3D CAD solutions. Also, personally, he's a consultant for our plastic injection molding simulation software, right? And now he has actually expanded his capabilities into PTC's industrial IoT enterprise solutions in the range of Kepware, Thingworx, and Vuforia. So he's the man behind the project that has already kicked off, right, under TP. And so I'd like to invite him to share with you what we did for TP. Yubun, over to
thanks.
you.
Thanks, Hilary. I will share.
Welcome. Okay.
Okay, so everyone can see my screen?
Yes.
Yep. So good afternoon, everyone. I think just now Hilary already introduced me. So I think today for my part, I would like to share one of the I4 project that we have successfully implemented in this institute in Singapore, Temasek, which is also known as Temasek Polytechnic Advanced Manufacturing Center. So the solutions that we have been implemented, as you can see here, we started from a data acquisition using the Kepware and IoT monitoring and data analytics using Thingworx. And lastly, the work instructions are using the augmented realities. So before I continue my next slide, I would like just to show you a short video just to show how this TPAMC center looks like.
The Temasek Polytechnic Advanced Manufacturing Center, TPAMC, Singapore's first live on-campus smart factory, is AI-enabled and data-driven. Students and visitors can witness how an actual smart factory operates, from decision-making, order-taking, to actual autonomous production, to the collection of the order almost immediately. The authentic on-the-job training environment is ideal for learners to hone and assimilate the newly acquired advanced manufacturing skills. Focusing on the areas of intelligent automation and manufacturing control, connectivity and industrial IoT, robotic system integration, manufacturing analytics, and cybersecurity, we are ever ready to train and develop a future-ready workforce for Singapore and the region. The digitalization of tomorrow is now present at the TPAMC. The Temasek Polytechnic Advanced Manufacturing Center co-develops commercially viable solutions with our network of industry partners. We extend support in building a reliable and sustainable roadmap for organizations as they prepare themselves for their Industry 4.0 transformations. SMEs can also leverage co-developing innovative solutions through proof-of-concept projects in our center. Our advanced manufacturing AM4E framework helps your organization explore technologies and solutions, identify training needs, equip workforce with functional knowledge, and transform. Together with the Smart Industry Readiness Index Series Assessment, we'll guide you through your company's transformation journey. AI-powered and digitally driven, the Temasek Polytechnic Advanced Manufacturing Center is an ideal place for our institution and our partners to work with companies to develop and pilot digital solutions for their businesses.
Okay, so I just want to highlight this the center again. So it basically have what we call the manufacturing line, which consists of 6 stations and 8 robots, and also an EVI. So this is a project basically a partnership, come from a partnership with various of industrial partner. We are part of it, and then we have Omron, MAM, Aston, and Fujitsu. So the this is the model factory that require a lot of data integration so that we can pulling the information from the shop floor to the top floor. So what we have done here is that I would like to start to show you a data flow diagram over here. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we have a lot of shop floor information that need to gather, and we are using the Kepware as a main aggregator to pulling all the information from the shop floor from PLC, and then from there we forward to all the enterprise system. And actually the data flow actually is 2-way. So we also allow the system like the MES, okay, to push back the information back to the PLC or back to the control system, and also through the Kepware. So from this diagram, just to showcase that Kepware playing an important role for the parts of the data integrations. And this just to show you some sample data that involved in the integrations using the Kepware. So from the system of IoT monitoring, we use it for the data analytics for machine learnings. We also use it for the warehouse system, the Swisslog and ABI. And we also use it for the MES executions and also the ordering. And lastly, the data integration also involved for the virtual manufacturing simulations. Right. So from this side, you can see the Kepware basically has been used to facilitate a lot of data flow. Okay, the second part I want to share is about this IoT Thingworx. So we have been using Thingworx to monitor the health status of of each station, targeting for those critical component. So like robots, the assembly station, power supply, and environment conditions. We also are monitoring the the status and then provide the fault summary. Also trigger the alerts when it's above the threshold. So we have been using the Thingworx IoT to simplify the reports or what we call the transform the data that we consume from the operation side for the top floor to easily understand or to make sense of the data. So I would like to share a little bit on just enlarge the screen a bit here. So you can see this is a dashboard we created for the nerve center. So it gives an overview to understand the current status of each station, whether is it in idling or whether is it in the normal operations or it has basically it's down or it's not in the operations. And not only this, actually the Thingworx also has been used to allow other systems to post their status. For example, the network status, the network security status also can update their information through the Thingworx and then display in this dashboard. So this is another dashboard we create to give us a simplified overview to the overall performance of the status, the health status of each stations. So we can know which station actually is in idling mode, in a runtime mode, and how is the availability of these stations across the weeks, across the day. And we also will provide some statistical information on the faults and also the power consumptions. And this is the dashboard that we have designed, so to allow the top floor to see more details on the each stations about the robot status and those are critical components inside the assembly stations. So this is for the health status monitoring. So the last part is the interesting part is that by transforming the operation data, so we have basically looked into this very special station here. So it's the drilling station. The robot is the one that doing the drilling, and it's drill the holes at the acrylic plate. And we are using the operation data, and we are building the prediction models using a Thingworx analytics machine learnings, what we call the library. And then we are able to predict the quality of the drilling process. So what we are trying to showcase here is that so usually a lot of manufacturing line, the quality they only can determine the quality of the product at the end of the process. But by implemented the machine learning technology, so during the in process of operations, basically we can use this machine learning or AI technology to determine the quality of the process earlier before at the end of the process. So this is one of the use case that we have done for using the data analytics. We have also another so this is just a dashboard just to show you that we built for this quality prediction for the drilling or this acrylic plate that I mentioned just now. We have another use case here, which is, of course, a lot of companies want to do that, is the predictive maintenance. So we have looked into this special, the cell here, the station here, which is doing the screwing of the cover of this limit switch. And we are using the machine learnings. We are collecting the information about the rotations of the screw, the rotation speed, the torques, the electric currents, and also the pressure, the air pressure of the tamping. So from here, we are using machine learning to understand the wear and tear condition of this screwdriver. Right. So with that, we are managed to predict whether the screwdriver are required to be changed or to be maintained, and we are managed to predict the risk of the wear and tear of the tools. So let me just show you enlarge the dashboard that we built here. So so every time when the screwing process is has been done, we were going to process the data trend of the motor rotation speed, electric currents, and the torques. And then from there, we are managed to using a machine learning model to estimate the risk of the wear condition of this screwdriver. So from there, we can provide the information for the shop floor to determine whether the screwdriver head required to be replaced or not. Right, so generally this is the use case that I would like to share about this, the recent I4 model factory project that we've done. Yeah, that's all for my presentations.
Thanks, Yubun. Thanks a lot. So if you have any questions again, please do unmute yourself, or you can also just fill in your questions in the chat box.
I have one question. If you go to slide 4, please.
Slide 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, for the Kepware, right, in the middle, and for the Omron, is it Omron IPC?
Yeah.
When you have another Kepware there, is that, can you combine these to one Kepware?
Oh yeah, because of there's the reason why we use two Kepware here is we have this industrial zone and a DMZ zone. So we are using additional Kepware just to tunneling the signal from the OT zone to the IT zone. But of course, if you don't have this kind of network security restriction, yes, you can choose to use one Kepware. Am I answering your question?
Yes, but maybe we not really understood well.
Yeah, I mean the reason why we have two Kepware because of this. There's for this AMC center. We also want to showcase the common enterprise network security layer, which is they don't allow the direct communication between these two zones, the industrial zone and the enterprise zone. So we have a middle layer of this DMZ zone that we need to place additional Kepware to. It's more for the network security purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like this, it sounds like very interesting project. So what is the services that provided by the PD? Are you developing the entire software system for the whole, or many parties involved?
Of course, this like I said, I mentioned before, it involves quite a number of parties that, like the Omron is the one that supply the robots and PLC, all this, and MAM, the automation and company that build the line, and we have Fujitsu that taking care the network security, the network, the VM, the server, all this. And we have another company, Aston, that doing the execution ordering portions. Then for our parts, we are implementing the Kepware, and we are using Thingworx to transform the data for the top floor overview dashboard informations.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, Sibu.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jaya. Any more questions from anyone? Okay, if not, then thank you so much, Yubun. So the last session, right, will be presented by Steve again, together with our technical manager, Jason To. So this is going to be showing you, right, how you can use AR to actually view the IoT data, okay? So Steve, as I've introduced just now, right, is the Senior Application Engineer for PTC. And Jason is actually with our company, PDSolutions, has been with us since 2012. He, the same like Yubun, his main expertise at first is also in the CAD industry, right, for 10 years. And he's been supporting our customers for CAD. But now, right, his expertise has also expanded to PTC's AR solution called Vuforia. So Steve will start the presentation, followed by Jason. Yeah, Steve and Jason, over to you. Yes.
It's me again.
Yeah, we can see your screen, Steve.
Okay, you can see my screen.
Yeah.
So my side is just a straightforward thing. So on my end, I will talk about the native connectivity to Thingworx. So you see some of the demos that just now you would talk about in the TPAMC, and you may be wondering how is data being sent after collected in Kepware into the platform. So from Kepware's perspective, if you look at the project itself, right, if I right click on the properties, there will be a tab called Thingworx. So what you will do is that you will then enable the server interface and add in the URL of the hosted instance of the Thingworx instance. So right now I have one that is hosted onto this domain, so I key it in. So it's a HTTPS connection, so my port number is 443, and I pretty much leave the rest of the stuff as default, right? So what it does is that in the Thingworx platform, you can actually create a thing model. So a thing model represents the Internet of Things thing, right? It's an object-oriented view of the physical item itself, right? So a physical asset itself. So in this case, I just call it under as a KSC industrial thing. So you can see that the name matches, right? And what that does is that once you have done it, you will see that there's an icon on the left side that tells you that it's connected, right? So you can then after that go into the discover method, and then you can actually look at the stuff that are inside my remote Kepware instance. So you can see that the data is actually being mapped across to the instance itself. And then what I can do is that I can choose whichever sensor data or whatever data that I can see now, and I can then use it to bound it and create a object itself. So let's say I call it so for example, so what you are doing is that you can actually construct the object or doing some sort of data modeling within the platform itself, so that you know that this is for example, this is a machine, right? A machine A with a sensor data coming in from one of the Raspberry Pi, for example, in this particular scenario. Right. So once I've done that, this machine A that I created has a property that is binded to the Kepware data. So you can see the value over here, 44.4, blah, 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 blah. So this is actually coming in from the data itself, right? So imagine in the shop floor, you can actually create even like the model after, let's say, a manufacturing line where you can have multiple items and so forth, right? So multiple PLCs, multiple sensors from different brands to give you a complete picture of the health of the physical asset itself. And then from there, right, you can actually build up your dashboarding and everything, including the AI things that Yubun talked about, right? So for now, I'm going to just stop here and hand over to Jason, who will talk about the AR portion of things, how once you connect it into the Thingworx platform.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. All right, for the share. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So let me just share my screen.
Thanks, Jason. We can see your screen.
Okay, so before I'd like to start, right, I would like to show you the live demo using the apps. Okay, on this phone. Okay, the smartphone, and also to introduce to you, there's this Vuforia applications. So it's download. It's actually free viewer. So what happened here is that I'm using this viewer, right? Okay, so as you can see, right now, okay, this is my computer. So this is live, and then on my right hand side, okay, just to keep you awake, there's some light here. Okay, so and of course I use something to mask away the marker, which is called this Thingmark. So I think I use this, I don't have a mask, so I just simply use this. And then if I scan on it, right, you will see a AR appear. And for this demonstration, I also like to share with you how the data can actually build together with AR. So let's see this. Okay. So my phone is actually scanning on this marker here. All right, this marker here. And right now you can see a AR, okay, onto this okay, on my phone here. And I also do a gauge system. All right, so when I turn on toggle the edge on the top left, right, the yellow gauge, you can see that there's this humidity data from the sensors from this sigma tau. Okay, I call this as sigma tau. So this is a sigma tau. So I scan again. All right, so now to see the gauge. So how do I achieve this? All right, before I go to the applications, you can also see that there's a button, disassemble. Okay, of course it's blocked by that. Okay, so this is the next button here. So you can see it's actually here. So this is also to share with you using Ufora Studio, right? The AR portion is not only just to create the data, but it also allows the users to build like steps to guide the engineer how to disassemble this sigma tau. So just two of this. All right. So let me move to the demonstrations on this applications called Ufora Studio. So this is Ufora Studio applications, and it's very easy for a user like me because I'm from mechanical background to learn the software and also to use it. Okay, so if you can see right now, I have a model. Okay, there's a 3D model here. All right, and then over here, I just want to share with you this user interface, which is very easy to use. As I say, just need to drag and drop. So just to drag and drop, okay, and you will have a 3D gauge over here. And then the best part is that there's a library. So you can actually see from the library here. Okay, so there's some default, but I would like to use my own. So I actually customize my own library. So I use this humidity. So you can see this icon here. And then just on the properties itself, I quickly type in some variable. Okay, I changed the scale size to 0.5. Okay, let me put it to the position. Okay, of course, you can simply use the dragger here to push and pull, right? And then just to set the rotation, okay, so make sure that it's upright. And over here, I would like to turn it off first, right? I do not want to have a billboard. And okay, so before I add into the JS here, this is a 3D canvas. I would like to show you on the 2D mobile, how does it look like? So when you create the interface, all right, I have a PDS over here. There's a header, there's a gauge. So this gauge, right, I would like to have the script running to toggle on this button. So I will just quickly add in the gauge here. Okay, so once it's done, okay, and how easy it is to plug in the data. So of course, over here, Steve has already created one and I connected to his VPN. Okay, there's some live data here. So I just need to drag and drop. Okay, so just let me zoom in so they can see the icon. Okay, so I just need to put the text variable here. And I just want to have humidity to add in the degree script. So I just put this symbol here to run this. And on top of that, on the external data that are retrieving from Steve over here. Okay. Okay, so I just quickly find the properties under just now what he have created is the Raspberry from the Thingworx. Okay, so there's a core temperature that is created for me. I add this in and okay, that's it. So right now I would like to see the preview. Okay, so this is a preview. It's a very easy software to use it. So this is a 3D model before you use the marker. Okay, this is called the Thingmark. So we on this gauge, you will see the humidity. So this is only part of the presentations. I would like to also talk a little bit on the TP use case. So over here, okay, it's actually done by this HoloLens. Okay, so that's now that one was actually using mobile. So if I turn on this right now, you will see the user interface. Okay, so this is how we actually created, not only just by drag and drop on the icons that just now you saw, all right, like humidity, you can also add in images, all right, and also with some buttons here. So I have two use cases here. One use case is using the AMC RC1, the control, this first machine, to showcase for the students. If I toggle on the yellow button, what will you show? So it's actually telling the student this is a Scala robot. And for the blue buttons here, when I toggle it, right, it actually shows you the battery powers, the humidity. Later I will show you on the YouTube. And of course, I also have this two buttons here to control the clamp using the Microsoft HoloLens. So the other projects, we talked about a run through where the user can walk around the machine. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Okay, so of course you just need to navigate the start button and then you can actually move around the machine. So this is how it looks like. And let's go to the YouTube. Okay, so for everyone, very simple, just put in TP AMC. Okay, and then right now I'm going to show you a full video. Of course, at your own pace. All right, after my last demonstration, you can put the sound, but right now I would like to play and use my own sound to tell you that, okay, what's going on here. Okay, this is Temasek Poly. Okay, using visualizations from Microsoft HoloLens. So we are using this Microsoft HoloLens to scan the marker and then to get the results. So so this is a headgear. So actually using gestures to toggle it. So as you can see here, okay, this is myself, right? To activate the AR using the Microsoft HoloLens, and I do a live recording here. So there's a live preview, and you can see that right now I'm using a gesture to toggle the temperature here. So with the help of Thingworx and Kepware, right, we actually managed to get the data from the machine, right? And right now you can see that AR can monitor the equipment constantly, provide a warning signs if let's say there's some error. So this is something that you can do with Microsoft HoloLens. At the bottom here, right, the blue color lights, right, is actually the real-time sensor, right? So for the second part here, okay, the second part here is to talk about the AR service and maintenance. So as a user, if you do not know how to operate the machine, just wear the headgear to scan the marker, tick mark, and then, all right, you can actually create something like an acknowledgement, because this is a laser machine. So we say that here there's a danger. So the user must check the box before they can proceed. So this is a safety check. And then you follow the yellow color arrow and walk around by step for these confirmations, and then you proceed with the steps on how to configure to turn off the safety warnings, things like that, so that you can actually reset the machine. So there is about 22 steps procedure walking around. So this part here is what AR also can do to run a simple animation, so that to preempt the user. All right, before this is the actually the product lay tray. It's actually that's not what you saw on Uwon's video, right? There's actually some USB the tray for you to put in, and then for the laser marker to actually scan in the logo. So they're actually creating the logo for TP. So after when you complete this service maintenance, then of course this is something like a concept, okay, for everyone to know about this. So do you have any questions onto Euphoria Studio? So before I'd like to end this topic, right, for the AR3 capabilities, it's actually visualize, guide, and interact. So this is what I'm going to show. Of course, it works together with Thingworx and also Kepware. So if you want to see a quick one here, right, this is the capability that you can do using the Microsoft HoloLens. To click on it, and you can see the extract of this valve here, right? Can see this part here. It's actually this portion, it's extract. It's actually extended, And then if I toggle using the buttons over here, when I off it, okay, it actually turns off from the machine. Okay, so thank you. Okay, I have completed the presentations. So do you have any questions?
Thanks, Jason. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Again, right, any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself, or you can also type in the chat box. No questions then? All right. So if no questions, we're very grateful that you have bear with us, right, for 2 hours, and we hope that you found the session useful. So for this TP project, right, that we did, so TP actually, in collaboration with us and Omron, is offering this skills program, right? It's called the Queen Bee program, and they successfully completed it on 11 and 12 November. And because it was successful, they are actually running the program again, coming up in January. So the dates are out, but it's not yet updated in their website. But we will update this in our website as well as on our LinkedIn account. So if you have not yet actually are not aware that we have a LinkedIn account, I'd like to invite you to follow us on LinkedIn. You can just scan this QR code using your phone, right? And every week we will be posting information about our company. If not, will be on information on the products and the solutions that we carry, or if there are any interesting webinars that we feel that you may benefit from it, we will be sharing it in our LinkedIn. And everything that we share on our LinkedIn will also be on our website. And if you have any inquiries right after this, you can also email us at inquiry@pdsol.com. Or if you want more information, you can always visit our website at www.pdsol.com. So thank you again for your presence and attendance today. And please stay safe. And we hope to be virtually seeing you again. And if not, if hopefully COVID tones down a little bit, and if we are ready to have a face-to-face event, we would like to plan for that in the following year, depending on the situation. So in the meantime, please stay safe. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And thank you to all the presenters, to Steve, to Jaya and Moa especially, and then to Yubun and Jason. Thank you so much.
Thank you.